This is commentary on Workbook Lesson for the Course in Miracles, Lesson 152, The Power of Decision is My Own. One of the harder things about the Course to accept is that the idea that love is always there at any given moment to help us, and the only thing that's ever missing is our decision to allow it to do so. When we begin to accept that, we can really look deeper into our egoic ideas about humility and arrogance and what that really is, and how the Course addresses that is in this lesson. So let's go through it. The power of decision is my own. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects a state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless these are the outcomes that he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs but represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. Here is your world, complete in all details. Here is its whole reality for you, and it is only here salvation is. You may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true. Yet, can truth have exceptions? If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? So the first idea about truth there is that it's always true. There is no place or time that it would be absent. If truth is what it is, it has to be everywhere. So if you have the gift of everything, which is what God gave us when He created us, can loss be real? Can pain be part of peace or grief of joy? Can fear and sickness enter in a mind where love and perfect holiness abide? Truth must be all-inclusive if it be the truth at all. Accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. Salvation is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. This you have heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Without the first, the second has no meaning, but without the second is the first no longer true. Truth cannot have any opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about. If what is not true is true, as well as what is true, then part of truth is false, and truth has lost its meaning. Nothing but the truth is true, and what is false is false. That's probably really abstract, but the take home from that, the pragmatic thing of that, is that we are not victims of anything, including any bodily changes, any changes in the world. That's the pragmatic inference from that, which we'll get to. This is the simplest distinctions, yet the most obscure, but not because it is difficult distinction to perceive. It is concealed behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely your own, and thus the truth appears to have some aspects that belie consistency, but do not seem to be but contradictions introduced by you. As God created you, you must remain unchangeable. Now this is, like I say, the practical inference from this abstract idea that the truth is true, nothing else is true. As God created you, you must remain unchangeable, with transitory states by definition false, and that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations in conditions of the body and the mind, in all awareness and in all response. So nothing we perceive as happening, either in our bodies, in our minds, or in the world, nothing of any of that can affect changing our true self of love. It's still there. This is the all-inclusiveness which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what it is. And so we're going to go on to confront how we think about this and the ego sense of humility and arrogance and what the Holy Spirit sense of that is. Is it not strange that you believe to think you made the world you see as arrogance? God made it not. Of this you can be sure. What can He know of the inferior, the sinful, the guilty, the afraid, the suffering and lonely, and the mind that lives within a body that must die? You but accuse Him of insanity to think He made a world where such things seem to have reality. He is not mad, yet only madness makes a world like this. To think that God made chaos contradicts His will and invented opposites to truth and suffers death to triumph over life. All this is arrogance. Humility would see at once these things are not of Him. And can you see what God created not? To think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what God willed not to be. And what could be more arrogant than this? So this is this is what becomes really hard to accept in the Course, where as we see ourselves as spiritual beings, we want to evolve, we want to look at our stuff, we want to inventory ourselves. And when we do that in the Course, we need to do it with a careful, with a careful way. We don't want to deny what we see there, but what we want to see is its arrogance to believe that we're guilty of all these things. It's arrogant to believe, not humility, to say, oh, I'm just a small little being. That's not humility. Humility is understanding the grandeur of who you are. Okay. Let us today be truly humble and accept what we've made as what it is. The power of decision is our own. Decide but to accept your rightful place as co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear. What rises to awareness then will be all that there was, all excuse me, what arises to awareness then will be all that there ever was, eternally as it is now, and will take the place of self-deception, made but to usurp the altar to the Father and Son. Today we practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant. Only the ego can be arrogant, but truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, and its eternal wholeness, all-encompassing God's perfect gift to His beloved Son. We lay aside the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid, ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to Him who has created us immaculate, like to Himself, in power and in love. Let me just read that again because it's so important. We lay aside the arrogance which says that we're sinners, guilty and afraid, ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to Him who has created us immaculate, like to Himself, in power and in love. The power of decision is our own, and we accept of Him that which we are, and humbly recognize the Son of God. To recognize God's Son implies as well that all self-concepts have been laid aside and recognized as false. Their arrogance has been perceived, and in humility the radiance of God's Son, His gentleness, His perfect sinlessness, His Father's love, His right to heaven and release from hell are joyously accepted as our own. Now do we join in glad acknowledgement that lies are false and only truth is true. We think of truth alone as we arise. So now here's the practice, the 2 longer practice periods, and practice throughout the day. We think of truth alone as we arise, and we spend 5 minutes practicing its ways, encouraging our frightened minds with this. So this is what we would say to ourselves. The power of decision is my own. This day I will accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. And then we will wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions, as we humbly ask ourselves that He reveal Himself to us. So this is a dialogue. This is a communion. This practice is a dialogue. It's a communion with our true self. We're looking inward and we're saying we want this self to reveal itself to us. We're asking who we really are to come into our awareness. So let me read that again. Then will we wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions, as we humbly ask ourselves that He reveal Himself to us, and He who never left will come again to our awareness, grateful to restore His home to God as it was meant to be. And so then throughout the day, we wait in patience, wait for Him throughout the day, and hourly invite Him with the words with which the day began. So throughout the day, every moment of the day we can be practicing saying we want this self to reveal itself to us. And then hourly we can stop formally and invite Him with the words, the power of decision is my own. Today will be the day that I accept God's will for what exactly is it that it said? The power of decision is my own. This day I will accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. So then throughout the day we'll wait for Him to reveal Himself, and in an hour we'll say that same invitation. And God's voice will answer, for He speaks for you and for your Father. He will substitute the peace of God for all your frantic thoughts, the truth of God for self-deceptions, and God's Son for illusions of yourself. And so then we'll do the same practice at the night. Spend 5 minutes with this introduction of the power of decision is my own. This day I will accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. And so whenever we're in pain today, whenever we have a problem, we can know that immediately we can get relief from that by inviting our true self to come in, the self that God created us as. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.